and I've been a strong advocate of properly and safely developing this natural resource because it is a game changer. And I think all of my colleagues will agree that it's not only a game changer for the jobs that are represented in the industry, both upstream, midstream, and downstream, but as I serve and co-chair the Manufacturing Caucus, and also as I serve on the Ways and Means Committee in Washington, D.C., and we're going through tax reform right now, I'm pleased to see the direct correlation and connection between developing this resource from our domestic sources is igniting the manufacturing renaissance of us building things here in America and selling it abroad. I am talking to manufacturers, U.S. and international manufacturers, that are looking to site their facilities and their projects here on American soil. That those conversations were not occurring as recently as 4 to 5 years ago. This is a game changer. This is about our economic prosperity. This is about jobs of today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. And it's also about a national security shift, because once we control our energy resources, just imagine the geopolitical changes that we will see in regards to the politics of oil that are now in firm control across the world.
We now have nearly 120 new or expanded businesses related to gas activity. This means Lycoming County is both a gas-producing mecca as well as an industrial home, which are a myriad of companies that provide support services to the industry. Consider, for instance, that about 75% of our county, incidentally, we're larger than the state of Rhode Island, is under private landowner lease to the gas industry or available for lease through the state, which owns thousands of acres of forest and game lands. Thanks to our planning department's 20-month effort to craft a sensible county zoning ordinance update, we can honestly say that drilling and extraction activities can coexist in balance with the quality of life and goals so important to our citizens.
This is what, we don't have time, we're very constricted here with time, so I've singled out one energy company, and you see in red, Chesapeake Energy has a prolific presence in Bradford County in particular, and in Tioga County is predominantly shale gas wells. Chesapeake paid $209 million in bonus payments alone in just Bradford and Tioga County between the periods of 2008 and 10. The royalties earned by landowners between January 2008 and 2012 in Tioga County was $163 million. A lifetime royalty for wells permitted is of 713 is estimated to be $4.3 billion in Bradford County, and in Tioga County, $3.3 billion. Total lifetime royalty combination, $7.6 billion for our royalty owners in Tioga and Bradford counties. Signing bonuses for landowners, it's a pretty closely kept secret by most of the energy companies, but based on what the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources have performed on the 4-to-1 ratio between 2008 and 2012, $413 million bonus, $100 million royalty. Private landowners are estimated to perform about the same in the same region and time frame. Landowner signing bonus is estimated at $1 to $2 billion, and known royalty is $500 million. DCNR gas revenue in the state forest leases in 2008 to 2010. Again, there's your figures. Significant, hundreds of millions of dollars in many tracts in Tioga County. 2012 production in Bradford and Tioga County, incredible production. Bradford County, 520 million MCF, a value of $1.5 billion. In Tioga County, 201 million MCF, about $500 million, for a total of 721 MCF, or $2 billion worth of value production. UGI also reports that the 2012 production for Bradford and Tioga counties is enough to serve all their residential customers for 16 plus years. Our production equals, in Bradford and Tioga County alone, equals 11% of 65 million gas households in the entire United States of America. Penn State gave a great 2010 study, $14 billion annual impact, 98,000 jobs, $800 million in state tax revenue, and by 2020, $265 billion, 176,000 jobs, $15 billion in state and local tax revenue. Again, extrapolating the information from the Department of Revenue, we were able to find tremendous growth in personal income tax reported. In Bradford County, it was up almost 35%. Tioga County, 38%. Significant counties without wells, only 7.3%. Realty transfer tax growth of tax collections. Bradford County was up 25%, Tioga County 14%. Counties without wells, very significant here, minus 36%, 800. Here are your occupations within the natural gas workforce occupations. It takes about 420 people across 150 different occupations to drill a well. And here's a breakdown of all the different occupations that is required. And if you'll notice, a lot of those jobs are with women. A lot of people think it's just men working in this field, but a lot of these jobs, women have great opportunity as well. And getting close to wrapping up, impact fees to 2 counties and municipalities in Bradford County, pretty significant. County disbursement, 2-year total. In Bradford County, commissioners received almost $16 million they've never had before. The local townships and boroughs for a 2-year period in Bradford County are now reaping $23 million. For a total, 2-year total in Bradford County, the impact fees of almost $40 million that we never had before until well drilling started. In Tioga County, the county commissioners have received over $9 million in the last 2 years, and the townships have received over $13 million for a total of $22 million in Tioga County in the last 2 years. And royalty payments to the landowners, pretty significant. Bradford County, $373 million. Tioga, $148 million. Look at the estimated lifetime royalty income. $4.3 billion to royalty homeowners in Bradford County. Tioga County, $2.3 billion. Pretty amazing. The value of the natural gas produced assumes low commodity price. Bradford County, almost $3 billion. Tioga County, $1 billion. Assuming high commodity price, $5 billion. Tioga County, $2 billion.
You are today. I had a chance to give testimony at the National Press Club a short time ago. And I will tell you what I found interesting were the 2 professors from Oklahoma, the professor from Cornell, and the representative from Independent Oil and Gas, all referred to Pennsylvania as the leader. They would talk for a while and then refer to Pennsylvania. So when I finally had a chance to speak and say, I'm pleased to say I'm from Pennsylvania. Going back to Mr. Henderson's remark, you know, to have that much reference by people who were doing a study on the effects of natural gas development in this nation, I thought was a compliment. What does it mean to this nation? That's the question. And what goes with that is, what do we need to do currently, immediately, and continuously in regard to challenging the safety and the environmental side of this? If we do this correctly, we don't have to apologize for what we're doing. If we do this properly, I don't care where your stance is on it, it'll be hard to deny what it really means, and that is a benefit. The Commissioners meeting, we announced the 3 Board of Commissioners that we were opposite of the suggestion you would drill into the aquifer for the purpose of fracking, and that was a directive from the public, protect the water. Shortly after the meeting, we received calls from every regulatory group that could communicate with us indicating you don't have the right. And they were correct. We don't have a right, a policy, or a resolution, but we do have a responsibility. And so to the side of what we were, when you talk about a negative, it's about protecting the water. There has been some methane migration. Actually, there's been methane migration from the 30s. That's a natural occurring. But can we do a better job of controlling that negative in regard to the drilling? And the answer is yes. 3D has brought forward the ability to identify the encased or entrapped methane. All right, that's a positive. The other part of it is the slowdown in the drilling currently, and this is in regard to that communication I shared in my presentation. When you have a chance to talk directly to the personnel that are operating in your communities or in your county, the answer will be, if asked, have we matured? And the answer is an absolute yes. We've been matured in the manner in which we manage the casing to prevent escaping product into the atmosphere. We've learned how to do, they have learned how to do that better. And quite frankly, it's about a communication.
We do need, however, with greater utilization that we anticipate in the future, we will see greater deployment of pipelines because you've got to have those gathering lines, you have to have the capacity in the pipelines to get the product to both commercial and residential users. So we're very excited about it. Shell alone in Tioga County, just north of here, is now over 500 miles of pipeline that they've been engaged in, and it continues to grow.
I just say that because in South Texas, Eagle Ford, historically we've had conventional production, but we have issues with transmission, with the compressor station, and I tell people I've never not lived on a pipeline easement in Houston, Texas. So we have an infrastructure there, but it's still not adequate for what we need to do because we are flaring much more in South Texas than obviously the producers want to do because they want a customer for it, but also for the environmental
property. And it's been quite successful thus far. But no matter what the value of my property is, if I do not have good water, my property is essentially worth zero. And I applaud so far the industry for protecting our water and our environment. And I will be a watchdog and put pressure on that continues. If there is a problem, and it can be substantially established that it may be the result of a particular well, that well should be shut down. The group of individuals responsible have to be accountable for it if it's established that the problems would cause from that well. And we certainly need our agencies, the EPA and DEP and locals to monitor it. And I think we'll continue to be successful. The degree of responsibility is important. Jobs, we talk about jobs continually, but equally, on the same scale, we have to protect our environment. And I will be right there leading that as well. Fortunately, DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, at the state level, and even the EPA has done significant testing and said we have good water in this area. It continues to be good water. It's not polluted. And I want them to keep monitoring it and protecting us and bringing it to our attention. We have to look at this from an economic standpoint as well, because I serve on 3 committees and have an opportunity to travel around the world. I'm on Homeland Security, Foreign Affairs, and Judiciary. And I spent quite a bit of time in the Middle East several times. In fact, GT and I were there several times. And I was in a meeting in Iraq a couple of years ago. And in that meeting, we met with the government leaders of Iraq, but also we met with oil people. And we went around the table and introduced ourselves. And when I said I was from Pennsylvania, from the United States, a couple of the oil people sort of came over and sat by me. And I told them I was from Williamsport, and I always say Williamsport, home of Little League World Series Baseball, and they knew us because of that as well. But I explained to them what we are doing in the gas industry, and I said, I think that Pennsylvania can be the next Texas of the 21st century. And one of the OPEC guys leaned over to me and said, if you play your cards right, Pennsylvania can be the next Saudi Arabia of the 21st century. And they know of us. And I said, Pennsylvania, the oil people knew of Pennsylvania. And that's our worldwide reputation that we have, and it's a good reputation. We have an opportunity not only to supply gas to people in the United States for a very long period of time at a reasonable price, but we also have an opportunity to sell overseas. I'm part of the NATO Parliamentary Alliance, and I traveled to Belgium on occasion, and Luxembourg for the NATO meetings. And Europe wants our gas. They do not want to buy from Russia. The dictator, as I refer to him, is Vladimir Putin, who controls the gas in that section of the continent. If he gets angry with countries, he just shuts the gas off or jacks the price up very high. And they will buy from us, and the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, Russia, will be sitting there with a lot of gas that they need to sell. Also, China wants to buy as much gas from us as possible. So my position is that in Pennsylvania, we provide the Pennsylvanians with a relatively low cost for gas. We provide it then to people across the United States and then around the world. And this is a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. The gas in this country is a game changer.
A couple of things that I wanted to point out. Early in, I believe it was 2008-ish, maybe early 2009, up Route 14, which you're familiar with, there was a drilling activity, and there was methane levels at stream level that were very high. Industry reacted extremely quickly. I believe the issue there was they found an orphaned well that, you know, again, my fellow commissioner down there, Eric, he pointed out, let's do it right. Well, obviously our history here in the United States back in the 1800s, 1900s, we didn't do it right.
No.
And, you know, there's a lot of wells, especially in the western part of Pennsylvania, that are orphaned wells. And by golly, we find them every once in a while. But the industry really is taking a proactive role in cleaning those up once they're found. And perhaps Mr. Henderson can comment further on our abandoned well program here in the Commonwealth. I also want to comment, I have a son that's serving in the Air Force, and every time I fill my Jeep with gas, I just wonder what part of that dollar that I'm paying may be going to fund an IED that's taking out our servicemen. So,
and we do this simultaneously. We don't need any funds from the federal government as far as I'm concerned. I think private enterprise can take this ball and run with it. They are the innovators to begin with. I'm a states' rights guy. Less federal government in my life, the better. And in the next 5 to 10 years, we can be energy independent.
Gas vehicles. I remember attending a meeting here in Williamsport some time ago, and billionaire T. Boone Pickens said if we could convert our trucks and tractor trailers to natural gas, we could reduce the dependency on foreign oil by 60% in America. So we need a national policy. We need leadership from the President's office. There are various permits pending before the President and FERC to allow for terminals such as the Cove Point project in Maryland. There's possibilities in Philadelphia to use the port in Philadelphia and refineries. There's just so much opportunity. We have the gas in the ground.